Hi everyone, my name is Charlie and today is Cosy Reading Night. Cosy Reading Night is an event hosted by Lauren and the Books where you have to do nothing but stay at home, being comfy, being cosy for 3 hours. These have taken place in the afternoon, they've taken place in the morning, but they started off in the evening from 7 till 10 and I am happy to report that that is happening again today. The last few times that I've attempted Cosy Reading Night, I have failed. Last week, Simon of Savage Reads uploaded a video about the books he wants to read by the end of the year. And then, watching that video, I recognised that there is actually a very short time left of this year. Despite the fact it is November the 20th, I am still behaving as though it's September and I have months until the end of the year. Christmas isn't even a thought in my head yet. Side note, on the topic of Christmas, I will be doing Vlogmas again this year, and if you have any topics that you would like me to discuss or any ideas for videos, then please feel free to send them my way. So, firstly, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you the books that I plan on reading this evening. The first book that I want to have a bash at is The Girls of Slender Means by Muriel. My good friend Joy Winkler lent me this book before we entered into a second lockdown. She actually lent me this way back in September and I still haven't read it, nor have I read The Lie by Helen Dunmore or any of the short stories she gave me of Elizabeth Taylor. I know we hate blurbs, so I'll read the back quickly and then try and sum it up in as few words as possible. Okay, I can't do this justice, so. The Mayof Tech Club exists for the pecuniary convenience and social protection of ladies of slender means below the age of 30 years. Nevertheless, and though there is a war on, these girls find the time between allocution lessons to jostle one another over suitors, some more suitable than others, and a single Schiaparelli gown. But can a love of literature, fine clothes, and amorous young men save these young ladies from the horrors of the real world? It does sound quite my bag. I've not been the biggest fan of war novels in the past, but this seems like a different take on it entirely. Next, we have The Death of Vivek OJ by Akwaeke Emezi. I definitely want to read this book this month. I believe that this story follows Vivek OJ beginning at his death and then going back through his life. I wasn't the biggest fan of Emezi's book Freshwater, but they really impressed me with the book Pet. I am hopeful about this one. I think it's a case of an author perhaps getting more skillful with their talent as they progress, and I love to see it. Also, The Death of Vivek OJ is blurbed by NoViolet Bulawayo, who said that Emezi is a major exhilarating talent. NoViolet Bulawayo is an author who wrote one of my favourite books, We Need New Names. This was shortlisted for the Booker back in 2013, and that was the first year that I properly took any notice of what was happening in the Booker. I don't know whether this was the same year that The Testament of Mary by Combs was there and Luminaries by Eleanor Catton was there, but some of my favourite books came from around that time with the Booker. We Need New Names is that book that I recommend to everybody. I have previously bought several copies and just handed them off to friends. I'm mentioning it here because also you should all go and read it, because this book has a shift in the middle, and it might be just because it was one of the first adult reading experiences I had, but it was something that a book had never done before. It felt like a cinematic experience with the shift in the middle, and I have never forgotten it. So the fact that Bulawayo blurbed this book gives me high hopes indeed. And then a book that I have been meaning to read the entire year is All Boys Aren't Blue by George M. Johnson. At first I believed that this was a collection of essays, and looking at the book this morning I realised it's a memoir, but then I've actually read the little tiny subtitle that I didn't see right here on the cover, and yes, the optician did tell me that I could benefit from glasses, but it was money. And then I realised I actually would have got a free prescription because I was covered, and I still haven't got over that fact. But anyway, what does that have to do with George M. Johnson? That has nothing to do with George M. Johnson. So anyway, this book discusses what it means to be black and queer, discusses gender and discusses masculinity, all those topics that really push a lot of people's buttons but are necessary and need to be discussed, and the more that they are discussed, hopefully, the more folk begin to recognise their ignorance and go through something of the change. I know that Jessie over at Bowties and Books has been recommending this book the entire year, and I just happened to finally find a copy on eBay, took the plunge, and now I own it and I'm looking forward to it. And I plan to read it for non-fiction November, and I only have 1 week left to do so. And then we have some outliers that I will just mention quickly that I could pick up, but I don't think I will. The first one is How to Survive a Plague by David France. I began this book months ago and I really enjoyed the first chapter. This is talking about the HIV/AIDS epidemic during the 1980s. From the subtitle on the front it says it's the story of the activists and scientists who helped to tame AIDS. I really appreciated the way the story was being told in this way that's fictional, as well as going into the science of it all. It felt like a perfect blend of the two. I believe there is a documentary as well that I haven't watched and I was saving. It might tell all of the same stories that are in here, but the only reason I put this book down was the length of it, and that's a really terrible reason not to continue picking up a book. So this is a book that I'd really like to get finished before the end of November, but definitely by the end of the year. Then I am also still reading Meat by Dane Cobain. The word cozy and this book really don't go together. Vegan manifesto meets horror fiction, and similar in style to Stephen King's writing, there is an air of tension throughout the prose that just doesn't fit for Cosy Reading Night. I am still reading Sylvia's Lovers, albeit slowly, so I just didn't feel like adding it to the list today. This book very nearly ended up on the TBR, and that is The Lie by Helen Dunmore. It could still end up on the TBR, I don't think it will, but I did think of this as a November book. This is set in 1920, it's after the war, and it's going to be discussing the effects of it and one man and a lie he told, I believe. I don't know. I said that I wanted to read Helen Dunmore, and back in September this is one of the books that Joy gave me because she said it was one of her favourites. I believe there is a sequel, so hope if I enjoy this I can borrow that as well. Them's the books. If you have read any of these books or you think that I should prioritise certain books in this list over others, then please do let me know. I hope that this video didn't bore you too much, and until next time, this evening, that is all.